Fireworks, bouquets of flowers everywhere you turn, hundreds of guests there to celebrate you, weeks of events leading up to the ceremony. Now some may look at this and think of it as the perfect day, but at what cost? Hi, I'm KateThomas, and I'm here to speak to you about why expensive weddings are a waste of money. Now the statement, expensive weddings result in shorter marriages, may be seen as an intense and untrue statement said to trick couples that are to be married to not break the bank on their ceremonies, but in reality it is a fact that's been proven. Two professors from Emory University conducted a study on the correlation between a relationship's success rate and their wedding budget. Their study found that couples who spent over $20,000 on their wedding increased their chances of divorce by 3.5 times compared to those who spent $5,000 to $10,000. They also found that excessive spending on wedding rings resulted in shorter marriages. This shows us that when a wedding is treated as a cinematic event rather than the beginning of a long-lasting marriage, a substantial letdown inevitably occurs. Now, to explain the rising cost of weddings, it is fueled by the planning industry, which ties big spending with love and commitment. The first wedding was believed to be in the year 2350 BC, and this wedding was in Mesopotamia. Back then, wedding's purpose was to bind one man to one woman to ensure that the children the man had with his wife were truly his biological kids. Weddings were not about love or religion. In the book, If We Both Shall Love, Karen M. Dunnick discovers that before World War II, many Americans held their weddings at home. She discovered that after the war, many Americans began holding their weddings in churches as they had some extra cash. In Nebraska, it was just the bride, groom, siblings, and parents who attended the wedding. As time went on and more traditions grew, these traditions became the norm and now make it difficult for those who don't have the funds or resources to say no to. This pressures the lower class to spend money they do not have in hopes to meet these impossible standards. Now, the average cost of a wedding is about $34,000. With the average cost of your apartment being about $2,495, you could pay for over a year of housing with that money. The money you're about to spend on your wedding is a huge amount, and especially with the lower class's income being about $32,000 to $53,000, that is a massive burden on financial needs. The life you're about to start with your spouse consists of many financial obligations, not just housing, and overspending on the wedding may make you more susceptible to debt early on that may become difficult to pay off. I understand that it may be difficult to not invite people you don't get along with because of family obligation or other circumstances, but if it really is your day, you should want to be surrounded by the people who love and support you and only those people. You may argue that you only do it once, but in reality, with the divorce rate in the United States being about 44.2%, there's about a 50-50 chance this will not be the only time. Well, yes. I just turned 15 and I have been married a total of 0 times. It may seem that I'm not affected, but my generation is being affected, believe it or not. We are being trained, just as older generations have, to tie big spending with love and commitment, and the problem is only getting worse. Now, Amy Stearns, who is a sociology professor, conducted a study on weddings using the big 3 sociological theories, and these are symbolic interactionism, functionism, and conflict. And on the conflict perspective, we answer the question, who benefits? Now, the wedding industry produces the idea that to have a good wedding, you must have money or wait until you do. Things are priced so high that only the upper middle and upper class can afford them, leaving the lower middle and lower class to feel shut out and excluded from what we perceive as the perfect day. And this pressures the lower class to spend money they don't have in hopes to fit these impossible standards. Next, we talk about functionism, in which we talk about the wedding industrial complex. The term industrial complex typically means a beneficial relationship between policymakers and the different institutions of the industry. This employs countless employees, including florists, photographers, wedding planners, caterers, and many more. And this business would begin to go out of style if big weddings stop being so normalized in our society. Now, according to the American Brides Wedding Study, every wedding has about under 200 guests, with the average being 167. More people means more food, more decorations, more everything. In reality, we need to take a step back and answer to the question, is it the bride and groom benefiting, or is it the guests who get to attend a big party? And lastly, Amy Stearns studies symbolic interactionism. And this is the idea that the interactions we have with each other and the institutions of our society alter the way that we think. We have been trained to believe that a good wedding is an expensive one, and without certain extravagant details, it will cease to be seen acceptable with today's views. Pinterest and other sites similar to it have thousands, even millions of pictures exhibiting the perfect day, included with extravagant details most of our society cannot afford. Now, Kayla and Andrew, who were a young couple at the start of COVID, spent $1,200 on a wedding that was originally taxed at $40,000, and here's how they did it. They originally planned to have about 400 guests attend the ceremony, but with COVID, downsized, had about 18 people attend the ceremony and live streamed for anyone else who could not attend. Now, Kayla did her own hair and had her makeup done by a friend who did it professionally. Andrew had 3 of his family members provide music to the couple, and Kayla describes their wedding as glamorous and divine, even with it being much smaller than she had anticipated. She says, quote, "We focused on each other, we focused on togetherness. These were always values for us, but they had a new significance with the intimacy of our small wedding. They made the planning and downsizing of their cost of their wedding an important value for them and continuously worked on it throughout the process, and it obviously paid off." Now, I believe our society should all take a step back and ask the question, what benefit does this have us later in life? This is a massive burden on financial needs for these young couples, and our wedding should be a celebration of love rather than a who has more money contest. Thank you.